Welcome everybody, it's Book Club Week 1, and I wanted to start with the book Propaganda by Edward Bernays because this book is super pertinent to what's going on in today's society. The book is called Propaganda. It was written before 1930. Just get down to the basics of this book. There's a couple of guys that are watching this video that have read this book and have recommended me this book, so thank you guys. And for those of you who want to read it or want a summary on it, this is going to be the video for you guys. So quick and fast summary, propaganda and what it means, what's the big message. So Edward Bernays in this book did a lot of different research on psychology and how humans work on a psychological basis and how they respond to specific advertisements or different things in the media, specifically pertaining to political and business enterprise type of advertisement. He did a lot of research and talked a lot about a lot of different topics, but a couple of the main ones that I wanted to talk to you guys about, in which the book he thinks are a good thing, but as we see now looking back at the 20th century that these were not good things, were making things dramatic, trying to be friends with the public, and then the last one is weaseling your way and finding relationships that will benefit you, which all of these things are great when you're advertising a product or advertising a service or trying to get your point across. But the harmful thing is that a lot of these things that were put into the public's eye, whether that be propaganda for the government issued programs at the time or cigarettes or other different entities that were harming people. For example, one of the big ones in the 20th century was the cigarette industry. Edward Bernays did a lot of propaganda for them, and he was what was known as the father or godfather of propaganda, and he talks about in this book how to manipulate the public. So he talked about these three different things a lot through the book, and he gave a lot of different examples. He starts with talking about what propaganda is and why every business needs to have somebody who's an expert in public relations, and then he starts getting into the tactics about how to influence the public and how to kind of manipulate the public. But what was crazy about this book was that he thought all this stuff was positive and it was all good. And like I said earlier, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but he boasts about it and talks about how the government being able to persuade the common people is better for society because they know what's best. And he made these arguments saying that without the government and without them being able to persuade us, our society would fail. Now, obviously, we know that this is a bad thing, and now looking in the year 2022, that all of the stuff that was talked about in this book is clearly being done by our government and by big businesses, but now they're pushing other things, for example, things about our health, things about what we should eat, things about how we should live our life and what we should think. And this book really is an eye-opener to how they do things and how they're dividing us as a society, and especially when it comes to the more radical ideas. And the end of this book, it talks about women's rights. Obviously, that's something that we can all agree on. But nowadays, they're starting to push, and when I say they, the big governments, the big businesses are starting to push ideas that go beyond logical means. And I think this book is a very, very clear indicator of how we're manipulated as a society, how the government and big businesses decide to push their propaganda onto us by using teams and whole bunch of people in departments doing research, taking data and manipulating their content and manipulating how they're putting their point across to us to tell us what we should do and what we can't do. So check this book out. It's a great book. It's a short read. It's only about 150 pages. It's a little bit boring. It's an audio book on YouTube as well, so if you want to get through it on that, I think it's a great book to start this channel with, because I think that for the most part, people are going to come and realize that a lot of the stuff that you see in here, even though it's over 100 years old, is like happening now. Except back in this book, they use print ads and they use radio media and TVs during the early 30s and 40s, but now we have digital media and social media, which is just the same exact thing except it's on a digital screen. Thank you guys for listening to this video and this breakdown of the book, Propaganda by Edward Bernays. A great read, and I definitely recommend to get the Noah Chomsky version, because he does a little bit of a critique in the beginning, and it kind of opens up some of the dialogue and some of the words used in this book to explain to you how Edward Bernays, the godfather of propaganda, worked and how his mind worked. Thanks guys for watching this video. I'll catch you guys on the next one.